And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Monday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Back in the saddle, out on the West Coast last week in Palm Springs. Someone had to do it. 75 degrees. My goodness. Beautiful place. Is PGA West, a guy that was out there as well. He lives on the West Coast, and I've been trying to get him on. My old buddy back from the Golf Channel days, absolutely killing it with his new business venture, the Fire Pit Collective. One and only Matt Ginella. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, buddy, and great to see you. Great to be on with you. I appreciate this.
I was almost certain you would come on with your San Francisco 49er hat on and rub it in. As, of course, we've always had a fun banter back and forth, me being a Seahawk fan, Matt being a 49er fan. And what a win. My goodness. Let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. Congratulations to the 49ers. I mean, like, the 49ers against Aaron Rodgers is a tough one for me. Like, it's hard to cheer for either one of those for me. But deep down, and I would never tell anybody this except you right here on my podcast, I was happy to see the 49ers win. All right, go ahead.
Well, I mean, on behalf of the NFC, how good is the NFC West, by the way?
Oh my gosh.
So look what's happening. You know, it all plays out, but the NFC East, obviously, the bubble has been bursted there, I think that 49, as as anybody knows who follows the NFL, getting hot late, just getting into the party, getting into the dance, and then getting hot, getting healthy, and having a coach like Kyle Shanahan, and obviously everybody buying into a philosophy and a teamwork, making the dream work kind of mentality, with skill sets like Debo and Osa and Kittle, and Elijah Mitchell got sort of no play last week, but that kid ran hard. That kid ran hard every day. And then special teams doing what they did to have no offensive touchdowns and be down 7-0 in Green Bay and to win that game against Aaron Rodgers, who, clearly is in top form, with Devontae Adams, who looked unguardable. I still can't believe it's real.
Yeah, I mean, you just hang tough. I mean, 49ers are physical, and you came in, you hung around, you got the big block, tied it up, and Jimmy G does just enough. He is like watching a car just like veer off the side of the road. Oh my God, no. And then he comes back and it's like, no, but it's maddening, right? I can't even imagine. But yet he makes that beautiful little sidearm pass, and he does just enough. And here you are. You got to tip your cap to some degree to him. But overall, yeah, you're right. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. He's finding his way, and it's going to be a good one. The NFC West is an absolute powerhouse. Keep in mind, the Seahawks beat the 49ers twice this year. We'll just go ahead and get that out of the way.
Why would we keep that in mind?
just to prove how tough the NFC West was. Now, I know we lost to. No, you realize if Russ would have been healthy the entire year, all four teams would have made the playoffs. You realize that?
Yeah, no, I understand. I get it. I mean, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. I always come back to that, because if you look at the court, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, and Jimmy G are the four quarterbacks left standing. Yeah. And if you rank those, there's nobody who's putting Jimmy G anywhere other than fourth on that list.
But give me Bosa and Armstead, man, coming off that edge. My God, they just disrupt everything.
But then you factor in defense and skill positions and coaching and, team mentality. And I wouldn't want to play the Niners. I mean, obviously nobody wants to play them. I mean, and in LA, they're doing everything they can to prevent this from being a true home game for the Niners.
Oh, they'll have plenty.
His wife are still bitter about a couple of weeks ago. The Niners have gone into LA, into Dallas, into Green Bay.
Yeah.
Win.
Yeah. All right, let's get some golf. There's a lot of things I want to get to here with you.
We just keep talking about this.
No. A lot of things I want to get to here with you, including one of your new topics, your new projects. You got a lot of shit going on and following you, and you got a great team, and this show called The Grind. We're going to get to it here in a minute. But I just want to, it's funny. I'm 44. I'm a golf teacher by trade. And, I was fortunate enough to do about 5 years down at Golf Channel, like 2 days a week. Of course, you were there full time and you were very much part of the fabric of the show. You did morning drive. You did all your traveling shows. You did some live froms. I mean, you did a lot, right? You were the full-time Matty G. And I was just down there like 1 or 2 days a week doing my pieces. But I look back at that time and I spent a significant amount of time in there with you and that whole crew of Damon Hack and Lauren Thompson and all of them. Tim Rosenfort, who I know you're very close with, just passed away. And I was fortunate enough to work with him. And we know how just incredibly terrific he was. The best. But I look back at those times, Matt, and I'm like, I find myself, I miss those times, like I don't miss getting up at 3:30 in the morning, but I miss going in and everyone just like everyone generally liked each other. It was fun. Like, it's like, it was a true family fun atmosphere. It had to be at 4 a.m. But what I missed the most, Matt, is when the red light went on and the live television and that adrenaline that goes right through your body. Man, there's nothing like it.
That portal is an incredible thing. Well summarized on all fronts, but I mean, and we were just talking about a team mentality and how cool it is when you're a part of when people buy into one common effort, and morning drive. And there was different sub dynamics within sort of the morning drive because it was 7 days a week. And then there were sort of little subplots amongst, so if you had a Tuesday, Wednesday group was different than the sort of the Thursday through Monday group, but there was overlap. And then there would be opportunities to pop in on that and different, if you were on a weekend that had a different energy than if you were on during, the beginning of the week. And then if you were on a live from situation or on the road, that was always different than being in studio. But I miss it too. I miss that camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
I miss the buzz, that energy that comes from live television, and looking around and, knowing that you're literally, and for me, having my parents be on the West Coast and me being on the East Coast and them being able to watch me, or my family being able to watch me, or having a young, kids, as and them being able to watch you on TV, that mattered. Yeah. That meant something. That was a real thing. So yeah, miss it. But I'm appreciative. I appreciate that opportunity. What an incredible opportunity to be a part of something like that. And we obviously had great chemistry in terms of, I felt comfortable with you. We did do quite a few segments together, or we were on at the same time, or, I remember you and Billy Harmon talk about chemistry. I miss watching you guys on the range, doing some of what you guys were doing and the back and forth there. Like I loved that. Yeah. I loved what you guys were doing. I thought that was a huge hit and miss when you were on and then not on anymore. Like I was like, oh man, that's a bummer. That's really cool. That was cool energy, information, chemistry. And as well as anybody, chemistry is something real as it relates to TV. Think about going back to the days in Sports Center and when we really counted on that show to get our sports news. And when those anchors had chemistry, it was so much more of a fun watch. If you watch anything on TV and the people have chemistry, it was like, oh, I want to be a part of that. Well, yeah, you're a great teammate, and because you've got great energy, you don't have to dominate. You're very willing to beta, but you have great information. And when it's your turn, you have an authoritative tone. All of that matters, and it still does to this day.
Yeah, getting in and out live television, man, it teaches you a lot of different things there. And I can remember one of my first shows that I did coming in. I can't remember. I mean, I think it was 2014 is when Billy Harmon and I did On the Range. And at the time, having a camera on the range was a new concept. They're like, okay, we're going to have a camera on the range, and then we're going to bring video back, and you guys are going to talk about it and debate it. And okay, cool. And that was a show. Every Wednesday night, that's what we did. And then that concept just kind of dissolved into every program. Now you watch every program, they just sit on the range with the camera and guys talk over it, right? Like that. But it started with Billy and Harmon and I did that for about a year and a half. And then I moved over to Morning Drive. And that's when I started working with you and Damon and man, what a great time that was. Cause I think we just won the Super Bowl. Yeah, we did. We won the Super anyway. So yeah. So one of my first shows, I remember I'm over there and I'm standing on the set and I'm getting ready and I can't remember who's standing next to me and they're going to host it. I think it was Kelly Tillman. She's standing next to me and she's going to host it and then she's going to lob it to me. Right. And they're like, all right, we're coming back to you guys in like 10 seconds. And Matt's standing off on the distance and he looks over at me and he says, hey, Fulton, don't F this up, and flips me off. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember it. I do remember watching a lot of people come on, being on set, and then you're off to the side, and it's always like, okay, it's not, it's like you're not, it's not your turn at bat, right? So you're in the dugout kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I would watch a lot of people come on set and be nervous or look tight or, and you knew they had the great info.
Yeah.
I mean, even going back to Rosafort, I would do things to try to loosen him up because you can get in your own head. I needed it too. And Charlie Reimer did it for me, or any number of people would do it for me where, just get people out of their own head and just get them to laugh or relax and so I would do that to a lot of people. I'd be like, hey, oh, great, you're on the show today. Yeah, don't fuck it up. I mean, just or do anything to make them laugh or
yeah. It worked. I mean, I was like, did that really just happen? Yeah. And but you kind of like you let your mind just that was funny, and you're laughing, you're coming on, and then off you go. Yeah, it was good. I'd tell that story. It was well done and well received. I'm pretty sure you did that to me like a dozen times, where you just like flipped me off all the time before I went on. But anyway, those were the days, and you move on and you start your own venture like you've done, the Fire Pit Collective, which has done very well. You've assembled a great team, and you got a lot of cool stuff going. And before we get to the grind, I want to ask you, as you transition back to the West Coast, and when you were here, you started something, the Winter Park 9 there in Winter Park, really cool little 9-hole course. And then as you moved to the West Coast, you went to Goat Hill Park, and you brought a lot of the things that you were kind of starting there at Winter Park with the skins game, some of the initiatives, and then you moved it out there. And give the audience a sense here, Matt, of some of the things that you've taken out there with the skins game, some of the other initiatives that are happening right now around Goat Hill Park, and why they're important to the sport right now.
Well, so to go back even before really getting involved in Winter Park 9, because I came down in 2013, at the end of 2012 and 2013. And we had some of my friends who were already working at Golf Channel lived in Winter Park. So my first place I rented my first year there was a walk away from the Winter Park 9. But I mean, what I would go and occasionally play back then was horrible. It was in horrible shape. The agronomy was years and years and years past due for a revamp, and when it would rain, which it rains in Florida on a regular basis, that 9th hole was a lake. There was no drainage. This is a sand-based golf course that had zero drainage. Why? The thatching of that grass, what Keith Rebb and Riley Johns will tell you after they really started digging it around and getting involved in the redo there, the thatching was so thick that the grass was so choked, there would be no drainage. Crazy, right? So that but and yet I still loved it. It was still like, wow, this is crazy. You can play right through town, cross the street 6 times. It was affordable, walkable. It was a short narrative, and it actually, in a way, that's where the game was going already. Bandon Preserve opened in 2012. 13-hole par 3 course. Mike Kaiser was already identifying the fact that his clientele needed something other than 36 holes a day for 4 or 5 days at Bandon Dunes. You could play 36 a day for 2 days or 3 days. His clientele, again, the baby boomers, but you had to have an alternative form of golf. So there, I remember 3 tops at Treetops. I remember, that was a cool concept. And then Big Cedar Lodge came online, and then eventually that golf course got incorporated into competitive golf. So the trends and the kind of this thing was happening already. And then some locals at WP9 approached me about, hey, this golf course is coming up on 100 years. We see that it's obviously underachieving. It's been mismanaged. It's a municipal, and the city is interested in kind of hearing ideas. Mayor Steve Leary at the time, thank God for him, because here's a politician who was willing to listen, was willing, yes, he plays golf, but he's not a golfer. But what his mandate, sort of his pushback to the locals was, all right, give me hard and fast, like plans, options. Tell me what it would cost, and then what I'd get out of what I would invest back into this piece of land or the asset within my own, within the city structure. Let's see what we can do. And that started the conversation. And that's when I got brought in, which Matt Haggerty and another couple locals sat me down at a breakfast one morning and said, what would you do given all that you've seen out there in the world and who you know? And I just got back from Cabot. I had met, I'd been out there with Bill and Ben. I'd met Keith Rebb and Riley Johns, but Keith Rebb in particular, because he lived on the outskirts of Orlando. This was the guy in the tractor. This was obviously a young up-and-comer, a young talent who was in the dirt. This is a guy who does the work. And I said, and they were saying, we're thinking Nick Faldo. I'm like, Nick Faldo, Jesus, oh my God. He lives in Orlando, and yes, I mean, he's a big name, but he's not an architect.
No.
And the only courses I've seen of him are, the Rock in Toronto. My God, it just is outrageous. I'm like, he's going to overcharge, underdeliver. He's not going to be in the dirt. You're going to be beholden to his guys. Steve Smyers had done, Interlaken, and oh my God, I mean,
yeah,
a mess. And I'm like, no, stop, hold on. Keith Rebb lives in Orlando. Let me talk to Bill Core. Let me see if this is something. I back up to Cabot, talked to Bill Core, said, do you think Keith could potentially do something like this? It's all about timing. Well, sure enough, it worked. RFP went out, and then through that renaissance and revitalization of that property, Keith Red said, the first thing I'll do is bring in Riley. Boom. Now these guys are off and running. They get the job. And at 1.2 million, they take something that's losing 250 grand and revitalize that and turn it into a moneymaker. And not to mention a moneymaker for that specific unit, but the property values around there, the energy, the enthusiasm, the camaraderie, the community connection point. This is a ripple effect. We had baby Bandon. Now we end up coming back, living in Winter Park. Matt Haggerty lives in Winter Park. People, Jeff Russell, Molly Solomon, Damon Hack, living Gary Williams. Like, this became now a place where we could call our own. A place you could play for $20-25. $18. Play 9 holes, get done in an hour and a half. And my buddy Ben Van Hook, who I think but is a local-based photographer I worked with for 25 years at Sports Illustrated, had a Friday game, a foursome, and he kept saying, "You want to play? You want to play?" Say, "Oh, I got me, but I got a couple other guys. Maybe we'd make 2 foursomes. Maybe let's make a little skins game where we open it up in social media." And if one thing led to the other, and then that became the Friday Skins game. That's still going on to this day. I left well over a year ago. Ashton Nix and the boys are still running it. And it's, what does that mean? It's just nothing other than a place where a time and a place where people can count on being able to go and gather, feel welcome, feel part of something.
Mm-hmm.
Not unlike, look at the Cheers. The whole show is built on, sometimes you want to go to a place where everybody knows your name. I mean, this isn't brain surgery here.
No, well, it's funny. There's a lot there, and I grew up on a 9-hole course up in northern Idaho, outside of Coeur d'Alene, little town's Pinehurst, which is right outside of Kellogg. I mean, Pinehurst has 1,800 people in it, and we have a little 9-hole course, and it sits on a rock bed. It's hard to grow grass on it, and they do the best they can, limited budget. But I think back to everything that you're saying, and all of the extra work the members did to this course just to get it to where it was, right? To where it could be because of the limited budget. I mean, you had to have people come out and donate their time. And just the fact that was open in my youth, and it still is, and it's still going. And it's, I mean, it was everything. Like, to be able to roll into that course and see the people that were playing and that knew your name and the characters that were associated with that place are still good friends of mine today. I mean, it's emotional to go back and think about. And that's a lot of what you're defining here in Winter Park 9 and saving that. And up there in these small towns, just down the road, 13 miles, there's another 9-hole course. It's called Shoshone. And then there's another little 9-hole golf course. There's 3 9-hole golf courses now within this probably 25 miles on Interstate 90. And so this is the golf that I grew up in. These 9-hole venues, and that were small towns. That's miners, loggers, industry, and there's other obviously things that are going on there. But the characters that just love the game, and you would come in and play and have a couple beers, and like, that was my childhood, and it's awesome. And to think about that not being there is just mind-boggling, right? So this stuff is deeply rooted in passion. So you've got Winter Park, so you go out west, right? And now you have Goat Hill Park, and talk about what's happening there right now.
Well, I started, John Ashworth has been a friend of mine for, 20 years now. And I grew up wearing Ashworth. So that's a whole nother story, and I've told it many times. I actually did a podcast on Ashworth and the start of that company, and what John means to the industry in general from a fashion standpoint, but also sort of from this spiritual standpoint as a guy who, I've never seen, I say this all the time, I've never seen anybody walk the walk. There's a lot of people talk, right? Grow the game and, hashtag, and here's what we do, and I was fortunate. And one of the great things about Golf Channel was it afforded me the opportunity to get around, keep meeting people, telling stories about things like Youth on Course. I remember when I stumbled into that, when they were redoing Poppy Hills, and Robert Trent Jones Jr. was up there talking about being proud of being part of the NCGA and the program and Youth on Course. What is that? Oh, kids play for $5 or less. What? And now here we are 6-7 years later, and it's spread all over the country, into Canada. It's going global. Awesome. One of the stories I did was John Ashworth saving Goat Hill Park, a place he grew up playing, just like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
If Oakmont Golf Course, Bennett Valley Golf Course, where I grew up playing, golf courses come up against, up against the ropes from time to time. They get on the wrong, like Winter Park 9, they get on the wrong side of maintenance, management, leadership, community. They get going in the wrong direction. So how do you shift that narrative back going in the right? Well, John Ashworth did that at Goat Hill Park. It was going to be gone. At the last second, he rallied the community. They go to a city council meeting. They say, and it was all supposed to be golf anyway. And the big billionaire was going to come in and churn it up and make it a stadium or a parking lots or soccer fields, whatever it was. It wasn't going to be a golf course. And Ashworth said no. And then, you know, as he says it best, they gave him the keys, and he went and came home to his wife and says, honey, you know, I bought a zoo. Like, oh shit, now, you know, we got it, but now what do we do? You know?
Yeah.
And one thing led to that. And, you know, if you talk about Winter Park 9, a lot of what I was seeing and doing there, or trying to do, was not was following John's lead of what he was doing out here. So when I came out here, and we literally drove the furniture truck across the country, and boop it bop, and we left. And my last round was at Winter Park 9 of Friday Skins, and I arrived for a Friday Skins at Goat Hill Park that afternoon. Literally pulled the furniture truck in. We went and played skins, but that I'm just tapping in now into what John did. Like, I'm here to help John and amplify his message. Because this is truly, Travis, this is the blueprint.
Yep.
This is, you know, he got it converted from potable to reclaimed water. He started a junior caddy academy. He talked to the Soliches, in which that was the first feature I ever did, was the Solich Caddy Academy at Common Ground in Denver. And, you know, George Solich, you know, flew in and talked to John about the Caddy Academy that they have, you know, which helps subsidize kids to be caddies. And you, as someone who takes a caddy, only pays them the tip, but they get money. It's kind of like Youth on Course model, but for junior caddies. So they're subsidizing that cost. So you can take a caddy, as long as you commit to sort of mentoring that kid, having conversations with that kid. That's happening at Goat Hill Park. He took a side portion of land and had Gil Hance's guys come in, because they were redoing the Callaway practice facility. And one of their guys came over and shaped 3 holes that's now a kids course that kids play for free, called the Playground. He redid the driving range. He got in on a turf reduction, you know, incentivized program for California during the drought, and got money to take turf out, and redid the irrigation system and all the agronomy there. Redid the driving, created a fire pit, music playing, no dress code, come as you are, come one, come all. I spend more time there, Travis, now not playing golf than playing golf. I bring my family up there on Fridays or Sunday afternoons. Baby Bandon is learning to play golf at Goat Hill Park at the Playground. This is a community camaraderie. People like John Wardrop and, you know, Will Kropp, who went to Oklahoma, is now teaching kids there. Dave Emmerich, Xander Shoffley's gotten involved. They started the Wishbone Brawl with Dean Wilson, who said we should do something more. I mean, Jeff Ogilvy has played there. Fred Couples has now played there. Yeah. Chris Riley lives in Sid. Charlie Hoffman. Through John Ashworth, he is our guide. He's our leader. And we'd all take a bullet for him, because he's given us so much, a community connection point, a place where we can call home, camaraderie, where we can feel safe, get away from all the bullshittery that's happening in the world today, and just feel like we're a part of something that's normal but special.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's it.
Yeah. And that's Pinehurst to a T. Like, that was, as a youth growing up and being a part of that, people cared about the place. They cared about the kids coming in and keeping them. And because golf wasn't that popular at the time. And, you know, it was tough to keep that course afloat and moving. We had a really good head pro who nurtured and did a lot of good things. And, you know, so it's such an important piece. And there's a golf course here now, just down the road from here. I was just there on Friday. It's called the Yards here in Ponte Vedra.
Love
yeah,
it.
it's inside PBC Gate. Yeah. And it's 9 holes. And then on the other side, you have 3 par 3s and then another little beer loop par 3. And
that guy followed John's lead. That was going to be a Link Soul Pro Shop. Like, I met with that guy and he met with John. Like, that's another sort of, and they've made their own version of it,
sure.
And good for them. And it's fantastic. I was just there a couple of weeks ago. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. You know, I think Billy Horschel plays in those skins games, and it's a cool vibe. But this is happening. This is happening now, Travis.
Yes.
This is real, and I think there's nobody who isn't willing to share best practices, lessons learned, to try to help. You know how many times I'm on the phone talking to somebody somewhere in the world who's trying to do something similar to what happened at WP9 or what's happened at Goat Hill Park. And John says, this, and I say you got to have someone local who's willing to sort of champion this vision, take it upon themselves to make sure that dots get connected, local leaders get involved, whether that's political or otherwise, and make this a team effort. Because John will be the first one to tell you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Jaybird, Laz, the superintendent, Fernie, the guy who's out there in the dirt, Sean, the kid who's Daniel. I mean, the list goes on and on. The Laveo family, the girls now are grown up there. Now they're going to Long Beach State on scholarship to play golf. This just keeps the Lee twins. I can keep going on and on with how feel good this is.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I know you've told that, I'm sure, a few times. And I wanted to, talk about that. And it kind of segues me into the game now. And like you said, these things are happening now because, the sport means different things to different people. Everything you just said there with Goat Hill Park and Winter Park 9, and I was saying with Pinehurst and even the yards now, as I spend some time there, it is that community, family, let your guard down. Don't have to be wearing a collared shirt, put a hoodie on, play music, smoke a cigar. Don't be an idiot, have respect, but it's a place to come and have some fun. And golf means different things to different people. I know when I left and I got out into the world, it was you kind of sensed that golf was country club, right? And I think the country clubs and those atmospheres I love them, and I'm a part of those. And I teach at Jacksonville Golf and Country Club in Pablo Creek, 2 terrific clubs and people and the whole bit. But golf is more than that. And I think even more than that in today's fabric in world, and getting people into this game in a way that they don't want to be a part of those country clubs, whether they don't have the means or they do, but they just elect not to because they want to participate in the sport in a different way. They want to associate into the game in a different way, perhaps at one of these 9-hole courses or Top Golf, or just hit some balls right down the range here. We have a little driving range, which is really starting to thrive now. You can go out, have a couple beverages and watch your kid hit balls with TV and some sports. And it's just, there's a lot of ways to interact with the sport. I think that warms my heart more than anything now, is to see all this happening with the sport that just goes well and beyond joining a club and playing 18 holes.
Well, that's again, and if you go back to now, it goes back to our time at Golf Channel. One of the first things I did off-site was with Holly Saunders, our friend Holly Saunders. It's a whole other podcast. And talk about breaking off and doing your own thing. My goodness gracious. I remember we went out to Texas, and I want to say we were in Houston for one of the original Top Golfs, and we went live from Top Golf there.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out there the day before and scouting out, and then we went live early morning, and we were there all day. And then we ended up staying all day, and we were shooting stuff all day. And it was my first kind of real immersive experience in Top Golf. And during the day, it was a family environment. And by night, and already the chatter was happening back then. This was 2013. The chatter was about golf is too hard, takes too long, costs too much, the too much, all those things. And the tent poles had their radars up like, we got to do something about this. The USGA, PGA of America, they were like, oh boy, this is coming off of 2008. The game was really, in a transitional state, and a look internally as to what it is that we're doing here. And I'll never forget, we left that night. Let's say it was midnight. It had transitioned from a family spot to a nightclub, music playing, people rocking up, beautiful people, like wearing anything other than golf attire. Good God. Right. I mean, from, short skirts, long heels, T-shirts, come one, come all.
Yeah.
And they were waiting 4 hours. Travis, the place was only open till, let's say, 1 a.m. or 1:30. And as we're leaving at 12:30 at night, that people are still filing in. There was a 4-hour wait for a stall, 110 stalls, whatever they had, waiting 4 hours. And I'm going, so golf doesn't have a problem with time, because if people are willing to wait 4 hours to hit in time, golf has as an experience issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that it takes too long. Like if you have 6 hours on the golf course, but you're at Pebble Beach, it doesn't have a time problem. You're having a great experience. You're paying $500 to have a $50,000 experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, as I'm walking out, that was the light bulb moment. I'll never forget going, people are willing to drive in right now and queue up for 4 hours, knowing that they're never going to get a stall. They still want to be a part of the energy and the party. I was like, the walls have come down. I never forget, Holly Saunders, I actually met with the guy from Top Golf at that time saying, how can we buy into this product?
Right.
I'm not kidding you. We were literally trying to say, can we be a part of this? And that to me was the day, and Mike Kaiser building Band and Preserve, and then Piners going to the Cradle, and Johnny Morris investing in more, and the Champions Tour saying we're going to make Top of the Rock a part of a competitive atmosphere, and the Himalayas at Old Course St. Andrews then becoming a putting course. At first This'll Do, which was a good attempt but didn't work, and then the putting course now then going in at Bandon Dunes, where I asked Mike Kaiser, I don't understand, you're creating a free product at a place where you charge, 180 or whatever you charge to play golf. You're undermining your own business model. And he goes, yeah, I see your point. You're right. But I want people to come back. I want people to have a great experience. So if I need to make sure that if this adds to their experience and they're inclined to come back, that's my business. I can't have a business at Bandon Dunes where people come and check it off the list and never come back. And now we have, like basketball, like skiing, if we go out and play basketball and we play 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 or horse or 7-up, or, we lower the rim and we dunk and we it's still called basketball. In golf now, we can go do so many different things that look and feel like the game of golf. But in the old days, it would have never been considered golf, because if you didn't play 18 holes and you didn't record your score, it wasn't golf. But now we can do so many things that are still called golf and have it be short, fun, inclusive, affordable, fast. We've cracked the code.
Yeah. It's exciting. And I think you really summed it up nicely. And that's, I couldn't agree anymore, and Top Golf, I think, helped us crack that code. There's no question about it.
Breaking point. It
was
rattled
a major
the
breaking
cage,
point. Yeah.
Rattled the cage and made people say, wow, that's golf. You can go and from the 4th level, dribble it down off the thing, and it rolls into a little thing, and I still get a score,
and you get a point.
I'm making progress, and I feel good about myself. Again, what a concept. If skiing was only double diamonds, would everybody ski?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. It's changing. It's changing. It's fun. And someone who's been in the sport my whole life, I love it. Like, I love these different ways to interact and experience the sport myself.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from, I love that side too. Like,
you can love it all.
Yeah, you can love it all. I love that side. I think that's my point. Like, there's so much there now for everyone. And your point of access to go, and everything you were saying back earlier, to feel comfortable, to feel part of a community, to feel welcome, to feel loved, to have a good time, to meet new friends, right? We're all different. And that point of access and the range now that there is in golf, and I think it's just going to continue to go, is a big reason why we're seeing the numbers the way they are. Now, COVID, the silver lining has been golf, and we've seen people come back to the sport with this. But I think for us to continue to grow and to keep these people in the game, this wide range of options to interact with the game, I think has to be front and center. Has to be front and center.
I said it all the time. 1997, Tiger Woods comes into the game. There's a huge tsunami of interest in golf, But we said no. We told people, get the hell out of here, wear a collar, no music, do it this way, don't do it that way, no fivesomes, no, 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 no. And we ran them all off. And then 2008 hit, and that was the low point. And then, people were building ridiculous, stupid golf courses that were trying to get a PGA Tour venue or a US Open or a major championship. Architecture was out of control in all the wrong ways, shapes, and forms. And thank God for Mike Kaiser for going the other way and saying, no, I want to build stuff for the masses. And I want, I want things to be playable. David Kidd did in Bandon Dunes, with Scottish golf in mind, where the ball can move around on the ground and still make progress towards, not unlike Top Golf. Remember, dribble it down and still make progress without having to take a drop or lose a ball.
Right.
That works, right?
Yeah.
And now here comes a global pandemic, and everybody's like, oh my God, now what? Now how is golf get? And turns out green space, community, camaraderie, health, wellness, walking, getting off our devices, getting away from the news, and getting out with family and friends and connecting.
Yeah.
It matters, Travis.
Yeah.
And that's Mike Kaiser. That's John Ashworth. That's these people who, thank God, they're around, and doing what they're doing in leadership roles for people like us to benefit from, and architects, and for Keith and Riley to do what they did at WP9, as Bill Core told them, just because you know how to do it, don't do it. Show restraint. The best architecture is more than anything is indicative of restraint. So that, it's not too much. It's not too hard. It's not too quirky. It's not too ridiculous given modern day green speeds. There is half side, high side half pars, short par fours that, that could be a long 3, but instead are a par 4. Short par 5s that could be a par 4 instead are listed as par 5s. Give us opportunity to putt for birdie and eagles instead of pars and bogeys.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
That's where we are. Welcome to 2022.
Yeah. It's exciting. Well, and I want to finish with this as far as 2022. As I mentioned, Fire Pit Collective, your company, you've done a great job. You have a new initiative, new program coming out. And I want to, if you could give us just a little insight on what to expect from a concept called The Grind, right? New show, new series. Tell us about it.
Well, their first, Alan Shipnuck and I, and Alex Upeghi. Alex Upeghi was my producer at Golf Channel for 8 years. Wherever I went, Alex went. He was my guy, right? As you're only as good as the people around you in TV. You need a good producer. You need a good editor. You need a good shooter. If you don't have all those things, it doesn't matter what you're saying or how you're saying. You need good audio. I mean, it is a true team effort to do anything relating to TV, telling a story.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone. In print, you can kind of do it alone. You go out, you do your own reporting, you write your own story, you do your fact checking, boom, you send it out. Print I did for, wrote stories for 6.5 years for Golf Digest. I was a one-man band. I started doing my own videos and my own images, and I had background in photography at Sports Illustrated. So kind of building up this toolbox. Well, you get out to TV and you're like, you can't do it alone. And Alex Upeghi and I sort of, when I broke off from Golf Channel and started feeling like I can do my own thing, tell my own travel stories, buddies trips, thought about bringing the ambush back, which I'd done for Golf Digest, telling stories about buddies trips. Alan Shipnuck was going through some of the same sort of frustrations that I'd had, which is inefficiency. Go out for 5 days for Golf Channel, shoot for 5 days, sunrise to sunset, and end up with a 5-minute piece on Morning Drive that some people would see, most wouldn't. And all the left, I said, we'd kill a cow and only eat the fillet. And it would drive me crazy because I knew what we had, and it would be edited by someone who didn't play golf or wasn't there on the shoot, or multiple editors getting involved in one narrative. And it was like, God, that really hurts my heart, hurts my soul. Again, love the opportunity, got nothing, and it was a big machine, and I get it. I'm just a little piece of that puzzle. So there was only so much that they could do to appease me and my energy and passion, but it hurt. It hurt to know what wasn't going out when knowing that in this content crazed universe that we were wasting content. And so launched Fire Pit Collective with an energy around efficiency. Shipna comes on board because he's at the end of his rope with kind of having his stories killed or kind of overmanaged or mismanaged and overproduced in a way that it was killing him, because he's obviously an elite member of the golf journalistic community with his writing and reporting and sensibilities and his tool set. We've always been great friends going back to Sports Illustrated days. Once we added Alan, it was like, then we started getting investors, building out a vision. The first hire was Ryan French. Talk about mismanagement. PJ Tour was paying him like $5,000 a year to cover mid-level tour events. And he was building a huge brand and following around telling stories about people who sacrificed everything to try to play professionally. And when we brought
Monday
him
Q,
on that,
Ryan French is Monday Q.
Monday Q Info, yeah,
right, for our audience.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, what if we brought him on? Now it's like my vertical was lifestyle, Alan's vertical is pro game, Ryan's vertical is dreamers. We added Laz Versailles and culture. We added Colt Nedler, who's just an incredible storyteller, helped build Eric Anders Lang's brand. And he's a great shooter, editor, a great golfer, loves the game as much as any of us do. And we started building this team and making this collective. And as Ryan was telling these stories about Hayden Springer and Nick Biondi and Chris Irwin and then we hired Jordan Perez, who told a story about Gina Kim. It's like, if you look back at these stories, what's the common theme here? They're all dreamers. They're all pushing all in to try to make a living playing professional golf. And it crystallized for me at the end of the year when it was like, what if we take these stories and instead of just doing one-off features, we do a podcast around them. We couple them together and package them and present them as a docu-series, knowing where we're going with content, where we look how we consume our information or storytelling in Netflix form or Amazon Prime, or we drill down and we binge watch good stories. Well, that's the way we're going to do with this. We're going to call it The Grind. It's going to be those types of stories in which we follow these dreamers and chronicle their sacrifices and try to get them more exposure, more eyeballs, and more opportunities to play in events in which they can actually make money and make a living playing the game they love. And what other industry, Travis, if you're a great chef, there's not limited number of restaurants where you can cook at and make a living, creating good food, right? You're endless opportunities, and you can always start your own restaurant. For some reason in golf, if you go out to work for a few days, you're not guaranteed a paycheck. You might go home losing money, and you put in work. You can shoot 62 on any given day, but you can't make a living playing golf. You're a master of your craft, and you have maxed out 7 credit cards, and you can be finished top 10 on the Latin American tour and lose money. You can get, advanced up in terms of status and lose money. It's not right.
Yeah. So you didn't like this money then that was moved to taking care of the top players then, I would imagine.
Oh my God.
The PIP.
The rich getting richer is somehow, and I get it. I mean, they're elite. They're the top 0.02%, but not the Top Gun pilots aren't the only pilots that get paid to fly planes. Other pilots can still make a living playing the game. And, and I was just on, Jeff Ogilvy is an investor in our company, and we're building out a platform. He started the Sandbelt Invitational and a tournament in Australia for elite level amateurs and pros, men and women, all at the same time. Peter Bessie, one of his partners and business correspondents down there who's helped him with this, said they just got out of a meeting in which they're trying to figure out next year at the Sandbelt Invitational, in which forget the one who wins makes more money. How about the one who finishes dead last makes more money? How can we take this and start making it go like this, where
Mhm.
the bottom actually makes more than the top. What a concept.
Yeah, there's a lot there, because on one side, like I think I have a soft spot for all these guys you're talking about and that Ryan French covers, right? And there's a lot of interesting stories. I know a lot of these guys. I can remember when Russell Knox graduated Jacksonville U and he first started and he struggled and was playing the Hooters tour. And I remember watching him hit balls at Sawgrass. I'm just like, what? How does this guy, like, how does this, and he would shoot, I mean, literally, Matt, he would shoot 62 every single week on the Hooters tour. Every single week. He'd have a 62 in his card. Every week. Now, eventually he finally cracked and got, now he's out there, right? But for every Russell, there's 50, 75, 100 the other way that don't and are not maybe quite as talented, Russell, at that point, but close. I mean, they're very talented. And so their stories are so interesting. The sacrifice, the passion, the commitment, the work, everything that goes into this craft and how competitive it is and how much they have to deal with failure and no money and this and that. And I'd love to see that some of that money come in there and obviously bolster this up a little bit and give them more of a platform to play for. But I also do see the other side and the threat at the highest level coming in from the SGL and the Saudis and throwing money at the big players and having to protect those names, the names that from a business standpoint that they go and market to, right? And that they go and they lead with Spieth, they lead with JT, they lead with John Rahm, they lead with Tiger, right? These are the names that are these are the PGA Tour. They're going to play your tournament. They're going to, right? So I can see where they had to protect their assets. They had to protect their best players, throw some money their way. But then I think now, yeah, how do you start bringing some money in underneath? The Korn Ferry Tour can become a little more of a lucrative place, on down now to some of these AA tours, if you were, Latino, Canadian, right? And then even some of these other Monday qualifiers and things like that. So there's some work to be done on the bottom end for sure. And I think it'll be fascinating to see because let's face it, the Korn Ferry Tour works. It works. There are tons of players that right now, household names that play the Korn Ferry Tour. And there's a lot of guys that were even below that. So we know it works. And now I think you have to make it a little more comfortable, cozier place. But hey, I mean, look at baseball, right? I mean, these guys get paid AA, single A. They're not making anything. I mean, it's difficult. It's a difficult business model.
Hold on there for a second. So single A, AA baseball. Ryan French is great at explaining this. People tell him all the time, oh, these guys, that's the way it goes, man. You got to sacrifice. You got to, hold on.
Right.
Single A baseball. Yeah. They go stay in shitty hotels and eat at shitty restaurants and, get the small rental cars or in ride in broken down buses. But they're not paying for that. That's covered. Yeah. That's not coming out of pocket. That's still being paid for. They still get equipment, uniforms. They still get, maybe they get $25, per diem to eat, but they're not losing $25. They're not going backwards to do their job. At the single A level of golf, they're going credit cards. They're taking loans from friends. They're guaranteeing portions of their winnings for 3 to 5 years. I mean, look at Tony Finau. Look at the mess some of these guys are in because they're vulnerable. On the women's Symetra Tour, these girls are vulnerable out there. They're staying in houses that people say, oh, come in, and then they're scared because who are these people? These are strangers letting in young, vulnerable females into their house. I mean, we're going to uncover all of this. We are going to shine a light and expose and create more opportunities for this level of golfer because not only is it feel good to have an impact on the world we live in through the game of golf, but it's the right thing. It's the right thing to do.
It's called the grind.
And the story, we're storytellers. We are
Yeah.
a company of storytellers. We are chasing stories.
Hmm.
And these stories are worth the chase. Just
And
like the pro golf is worth the chase. I mean, if
right.
you
And
get
you're going
there
to
early,
maximize it. It's not going to
yeah.
be just 5 minutes, right?
Oh
You're
no.
going to share
Well,
all of it, if not all of it.
and it's going to kill the cow mentality. So
Yeah.
if we're going to go out and spend all this time with these people, yes, there's going to be podcasts, digital shorts, long form 10 to 20-minute episodes on each one of these. We're layering in experts, and analysis from people who have made it or didn't make it. Michael Sims won the North South, didn't make it. Incredible player. You play with Michael Sims and you're like, this guy didn't make
It's
it.
amazing.
Stephen
Yeah.
Walsh won the West of Ireland. Incredible. Can shoot 62 on any given day on any given course. Didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What would he have done differently? We're going to hear from him throughout multiple episodes. Lucas Glover did make it. Jeff Ogilvy did make it. We're going to hear from them. People like yourself. I'd love to have you come on and weigh in on people changing swings or not changing swings, changing equipment because they're vulnerable. They chase the $50,000 deal that's going to cost them $5 million in earnings.
Mm.
But they're vulnerable. They have to have that money.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch it, buddy. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. I can't wait to watch all of it. You're not gonna it's not gonna be bits and pieces. There's gonna be a lot of it. It's called The Grind. It's gonna be on Fire Pit. Give us a date. When?
Yeah, I mean, we're banking. We've been banking stuff. We dropped a lot of features last year that we'll incorporate into the season 1 with updates and Hayden Springer, daughter, trisomy 18. He and his wife dealing with a baby who has a disease who essentially fights life. Qualified for the U.S. Open, now has status on the Latin American tour. We're not, John Murphy's playing the AT&T. You're going to find out Mark Baldwin has got a sponsor's exemption to AT&T this week. We're following Mark Baldwin. He's 38. Matt Picanso is a guy who's sort of late to the party. He's won over 50 mini tour events and is now grinding out there. Monday Q has a little status. Colin Featherstone took some time off, worked at Titleist, coming back to the professional game. He plays out of Goat Hill Park. Will Kropp went at Oklahoma. He's coming back. He just played in the Wishbone Brawl, an incredible player. It shoots 10 under at Goat Hill Park, par 65. With Persimmons, breaks Colin Featherstone's course record, 9 under. These guys are world beaters. And they just need options and opportunities. And we've got, a list of 25 players that we dropped today on the grid. 8 of them are women, 17 are men. But, Drew Love, everybody gives Drew Love a hard time. He's got a lot of special opportunities by being the son of Davis Love. But, do you really know Drew Love? Is he a grinder? Have you taken the time to actually get to know and what it's like to live in the shadow of a Hall of Famer? I don't know.
Yeah,
he does. We're going to share that story.
Yeah. It'll be awesome, man. Exciting. I can't wait to see it.
Christina Kim, 20 years on the LPGA tour, grinding to keep her card. 20 years. Is she rich? I don't know. We're going to find out. 20 years on the LPGA tour, going tournament to tournament. What's that like? How much, talk about baggage on your mind and your soul, making and missing cuts, making and missing putts.
Solheim Cup. She played in the Solheim too.
It's gnarly.
Yeah. Yeah. It is gnarly. You see what the sport does to the players at the highest level that have the most amount of skill. You see what happened to Spieth. And then you go down, okay, now you're
Aaron
down
Badger,
to where there's
Justin Rose, Adam Scott, Ernie L, coming and going, making and missing.
Yeah.
Winning and losing.
Michael Campbell. That's another one you should look at.
Michael Campbell.
I just saw he won an event in Australia.
It's endless. Travis.
Yeah, Michael Campbell, U.S. Open winner, right?
I know.
Where is he? He's still playing golf. He just won an event, small event in Australia.
I think of the guy. Who was the guy who won the Players Championship? Chipped in, didn't hit a putt the last 3 holes. works in TV broadcast. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but after he won the Players, he decided to overhaul his whole swing.
Yeah, Craig
Like,
Perks.
Craig Perks.
Yeah.
After he wins the Players Championship, okay, this is my opportunity. I got a little stat. I got some runway. I'm going to overhaul my whole thing. Never heard from again.
Yeah. Craig Perks. Yeah.
You know, Tony Finau, I played with Tony Finau and Kalena Proust. Kalena Proust, big star in Hawaii, went to Texas, overhauled his whole swing, lost his confidence, good friends with Bo Hostler, played on that team and lost his way. And I played with Tony Finau and Kalena Proust for 9 holes in Hawaii one Christmas. Just happened, I know Kalena and Tony Finau was there, and we all 3 of us went out and played golf. And Tony Finau said something that I'll never forget. He said, he told Kalena, dude, go back to the game that got you to Texas. Go back to the swing that got you to one of the best golf schools in the country, in the world. Why would you change that?
Yeah.
Never change something in your swing that you can incorporate into your game in 15 minutes. That was Finau's advice to Kalena Proust. And you know what? Kalena Proust went back and started playing good golf again.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of those stories. I could stuff you a lot. I could stuff you full a lot of those stories, Pat. I mean, just like straight from a straight technique standpoint, like he was here or she was here, and then this happened technique wise, and right now some can chip away back up, but there's been a lot that did. I mean, like, I know, heart wrenching kind of stuff from a technique standpoint that I got you there. Dr. Brett McCabe, does a lot of stuff with the podcast, and we talk quite a bit, and he just said something to me one time. He goes, I find myself telling players all the time, he's like, you're good enough is good enough. You're good enough is good enough. Like, you're good enough. Just be you. Be you. Just be you. Believe in what you do, right? You can have incremental change and this and that, but you're good enough is good enough. You're not missing anything. There's not this up here where you're going to grab I got it. And now I'm the number 1 player in the world. Good enough is good enough. Like that. That was like, damn.
Swing your swing. That
hit home. Yeah.
Jim Furyk. Look at, you got to tip your hat to Jim Furyk. Is he a world beater? Yeah. With that, and and Matthew Wolf coming out, like, look what Matthew Wolf's going through right now, and you gotta the more I see all these stories, the more you respect Jim Furyk for doing it his way.
Right.
Like, he never deviated. His dad was his coach. You know what I mean? Like, wow.
Yep.
Good for him.
I watch him all the time. Back of the range of Pablo, him and his dad, characters. Dad's a character. And he's back there banging the ball against the flagstick. Like every 15th ball, it's intimidating. I'm like, Jim, are you kidding me? You've hit that flagstick from 60 yards like 4 times. I mean, God, how do you do that? Incredible skill.
And around. Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's fly fishing.
Yeah. Radar. Absolute radar. Knows where it's going, knows how far it's going. Yeah, it's a crazy sport.
Funk. What if Fred Funk chased distance? Fred Funk hit every fairway, hit the green, and if he got hot putting, he's in. Corey Connors, ball striker.
Yep.
If I can putt, I'll contend. So stay focused on that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. And we could talk forever. Like, we talk on the podcast, I bring in all the coaches, and they're always the top podcasts because the ones that share real stuff, like, this is what we're doing. And it's always interesting to catch up with them. But one of the things that's always out there, and some of them bring it up and we talk about it, is you look at the stats and it's like, okay, you're doing this well, you're doing this well. And then, okay, gosh, this part of our game's not very good. And this part's okay. So it's like, let's go after our weakness. Let's go after and make that really good. Okay, you go after that. But then do you neglect and start losing some of your other strengths? Like, that's a tough balance. Bryson's a good example. Bryson's dominating off the tee. He went after it. You want to talk about wholesale changes? My goodness, his golf swing's like It's not even close to what it was.
Well, he's just a whole different
Yeah,
animal. Anyway.
he's a whole different animal. But his wedge game, his approach wedge game is worse.
Yeah.
You know, like his approach game. Where are we there? So it's like I think, is this gonna, in the end, is this going to be a good thing for Bryson? I think we'll have to wait and see. The U.S. Open win certainly is a big mark, but some of the other parts of his game, he's definitely neglected. I think he would tell you that because he's going after, look, I'm making strength my distance. I'm going to overpower. I'm going to overpower. I'm going to overpower. And I'm a great putter, and I'll fit the other ones in as needed.
Dustin Johnson didn't get great, I know until he started working on his wedges. Until he started dialing in those wedges.
Yeah.
He wasn't number one caliber.
If Bryson becomes a top third wedge player, they're in trouble.
Yeah, but is that going to happen?
I don't know.
When are we going to see him posting videos of him working on his wedge game?
Thank you. I say that all the time out here. Thank you.
What like, if I see him like with his shirt off and sweaty and, like grinding, on his wedge game, you better look out.
That's what I say all the time. Like, show me. I tweeted it. Bryson,
dude,
tweet something other than your driver.
Zach Johnson. Do you think Bryson would change careers with Zach Johnson right now?
No.
Would Zach Johnson trade careers with Bryson DeChambeau? Hell no.
I think he would.
Hell no. Zach Johnson would trade
Zach
careers
Johnson's
with
won,
Bryson
what is that?
DeChambeau?
Zach's won 2 majors and 8 wins? Somewhere in there?
No, like 12 wins.
Is it 12? Is that many?
I think it is. I mean, he's borderline. I mean, he's won at Augusta and
I know.
And the old.
But Bryson's best golf's ahead. He's got a major. Bryson's gonna have as many wins as Zach. Question is, does he have more majors? That's gonna be the question.
I mean, but it's also just like, I don't know.
Well, now you got me thinking about Zach Johnson. All right, so hold on. Damn, he does got 12 wins. Nice work. Damn, that's 12 wins, 2 majors. What an absolute, what a legend. Overachiever, Zach Johnson. I mean, my goodness.
Zach Johnson. Didn't he make his high school team or something, right? Like, isn't it? I mean, he's ridiculous.
Wow. I think as dominant as he is off the tee, and his putting is great. He's a top 10 putter in the world, top 20 at least. I mean, you just dial in the wedges a little, which can't be that much with his skill. Like, I'm telling you, it'd be silly. It's going to be silly. All right. I got to shut this off.
I'm telling you, you're going to be a part of this grind. If you're interested, I'd love for you to be, yeah, man.